So this is what I want my channel to be. I want my channel to be the kind of place where we can talk about San Diego Comic-Con and Batwoman and all that other nonsense, as well as talk about real things taking place throughout the world, i.e. what happened on Friday with Iran just pulling up on a British tanker. And everybody's tripping about the release of the audio file. I'm going to play a little bit of it. But, hats off to Iran, because they pulled up on them hard, and it was very gentlemanly about it. Like, look, we don't want to hurt nobody. We just need your tanker right quick. They straight jacked it. So let's play a little bit of the audio. Because I think it's like a minute in.
Sail through the Strait of Hormuz.
This is British warship Foxtrot 236. You must not impair, impede, obstruct or hamper the passage of the MV Stena Imperio.
Joining me now for more on the developing situation in the Persian Gulf and Iran, Britain, and the United States is responsible.
Okay, so they're cutting it up.
By Iranians.
All right, we're not gonna do all that, PBS. That we're definitely not. But the deal is that long and short, Iranians pulled up, took the tanker because there's a lot of issues taking place with America being the number one oil producer in the world now, and that's where it's always important to follow the cash. Iran tanker seizure shows oil price has become broken barometer for Mideast tension. This is written by Pat Dom for CNBC. Now, as far as NBC go, they gonna put whatever narrative spin that they want on it. But CNBC, corporate NBC, they about that business angle. They always take the money angle. That's why they're probably one of the better sources when it comes to situations like this, because always follow the money. All right. The gain in oil Friday was relatively modest, even after Iran's Revolutionary Guard seized a British tanker and temporarily stopped a second one in the Strait of Hormuz, a critical waterway for about a fifth of the world's crude oil. Oil's response was counter what traders would have expected in the past, when any sign oil could be disrupted would send prices spiking. The fact that there is so much U.S. supply is one factor, as well as the concerns hanging over the market about trade wars and a global slowdown hitting demand. So this is a picture, their guards just pulling up. Last week shows that oil prices are not the indicator for Middle East tensions they once were, and worries about global demand and growing U.S. production has changed that dynamic. One of the energy industry's greatest concerns has been that a Mideast conflict could disrupt oil traffic in the key Strait of Hormuz, narrow waterway through we already went through that. Yet, after Iran seized a British oil tanker, Stena Imperio, there on Friday for alleged marine violations and temporarily stopped a second one, oil prices moved slightly higher, not with the velocity that might have been seen during other periods of tension. Yeah, see, that's one of the, I think, a smart move that the president has been pushing forward, is to completely nullify any effect that Iran can have, by now I don't want to say overproducing, but going hard with the oil production. What I find amazing is oil has become a broken barometer for Middle East conflict. A few years ago, you could almost gauge how serious a security crisis was because of the oil price, said Hilma Croft, head of global commodities strategy at RBC. The tanker incident comes as tensions between Iran and the West have been rising. The UK stopped an Iranian tanker several weeks ago that it says was violating European law and allegedly carrying crude to Syria. Gibraltar court Friday allowed the detention of the Iranian tanker to continue, even though Iran says the ship was not headed to Syria. Last Tuesday, oil prices had moved down dramatically on comments from Secretary of State Mike Pompeo that Iran was willing to talk about its missile program. Iran refuted that statement, and oil did not recover the loss. We sold off 4.5% when Pompeo suggested that Iranians were willing to talk about the ballistic missile program. Minutes later, the Iranians said, no, we're not, and oil prices still didn't recover. Since Tuesday, it's been nothing but escalation, and oil has kind of shrugged it off, said Croft. Also last week, the U.S. destroyed a drone it said belonged to Iran, but Iran denied that claim. Iran did say it had seized another smaller ship it said was engaging in smuggling. It doesn't mean the security situation is not terribly fraught. It does not mean that we could end up with an unintended escalation through miscalculation. It just means oil is not a leading indicator of how this crisis is going, Croft said, adding traders are more attuned now to the trade war than a potential shooting war. And that's that's really where things are at this point. I mean, a lot of our greatest conflicts are taking place in boardrooms, not battlefields. Croft said a big reason why traders are not driving oil prices higher is because the huge increase in U.S. production. The U.S. has now surpassed Russia and Saudi Arabia to become the biggest oil producer. She said oil trading has also changed the market and is more computer driven with few big commodity players trading it. The surge in U.S. production to over 12 million barrels a day has created a U.S. firewall against these risks or perceived risks to supply. See, exactly what I said John Kilduff. I want to say Kilduff. Partner with Again Capital. They can take all the tankers they want. We still haven't lost any oil yet. There's a ton of spare capacity, especially in Saudi Arabia. I think that's what's holding prices back. Kilduff said, however, he does not expect oil to rise if these types of incidents continue to happen. The tanker incident follows numerous attacks by Iranian proxies on oil facilities and key infrastructures, such as an airport in Saudi Arabia. Earlier this month, Iran admitted to shooting down a U.S. drone, and the White House prepared to respond militarily. Trump called off the retaliatory response at the last minute. That was, I remember that happening, where he said, look, we were going to kill 125 people. The drone was unmanned. It seemed a little disproportionate, so he called it off. And there's a lot of naysayers who will be like, well, he also wasn't him. He's the one that set it up. True, but he's also the one that took his finger off the button. One of these incidents is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, Kilduff said. He noted that the U.S. is once more using a key Saudi airbase and has positioned Patriot missile defense systems there. Oil prices were volatile last week, with international benchmark Brent crude futures down 6.4% in its worst weekly performance since December 2018. West Texas intermediary futures were, you know what, guys? Okay, that's a little deep. But I think we're pretty much on the right path. How much more there is? Not that much more. We're on the right path though. On Monday, Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif told NBC News that Iran does not want a war and that the door to negotiations would be wide open if Trump lifts his sanctions. The Trump administration put sanctions on Iranian oil and other parts of its economy after the U.S. pulled out of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or the nuclear agreement that made between Iran, the U.S., and 5 other countries. The one that Trump's been criticized for withdrawing out of, but this is all really just a matter of strategy. The other parties, which include Britain, have been trying to keep Iran in the nuclear agreement, but Iran has moved to enrich more uranium at higher levels and has said it would continue to take actions that could violate the agreement. See, so I mean, if you ain't gonna listen anyway, then why are we gonna sit here and put our name to it, right? I mean, come on. Like, they're openly in defiance of it, and they took your chip, Britain. I mean, what's popping, cuz? They kind of just thumbing their nose up at Britain, but I mean, Britain got a lot of issues, fam. Kilduff said in past major conflicts, oil spiked quickly but briefly, and when oil reached its all-time, it was not due to a conflict. We got $147 in 2008. I think I remember that. Not because of a war, but because supply was tight and the economy was in its last phase of booming, said Kilduff. All right, so that's the end of the article. I actually think I remember that because that's when gas had went up to $5 and $5 a gallon, if memory serves me correctly. I'm maybe thinking of the same thing. I could be wrong. 'Tis his life, right? But yeah, so really, this is a matter of anybody that sits there and tries to spin this as in, oh man, there's going to be a war that jumps off with Iran. No, Iran, it literally is just the chessboard, man. Iran snagging Britain's tanker is more of a move to negotiate something better, just a power move, for lack of a better term. To be like, yeah, look, this is what we can do. You might want to, be more willing to adhere to our demands, really, that's really it. But as far as like the United States, what the president has done is created a firewall around that by increasing our own oil output so much, which is to be commended, right? I mean, shoot, that's awesome. So, I mean, we'll see what comes of any of this, but I think this was a really interesting article that breaks down exactly the whys. Like, you'll see, like, you know, like they're the parent company, like CNN or NBC or MSNBC, be like, oh no, my goodness, and Rachel Maddow and all those other guys, the Brian Stelters of the world, go in on how this is going to lead to a war, and Trump did all this. And honestly, if you just dig a little bit deeper, you can find that, hey, actually, this may not be a terrible thing. This is all a matter of strategy, right? Because, I mean, because life is more risk than checkers. And a lot of people don't, and by risk, I mean the dice and like world game. You know, not particularly a game of checkers, but it is what it is. Let me know what you think in the comments. That being said, all the internet stuff. Like it if you liked it, dislike it, go ahead, I ain't scared of you. Sub if you enjoy my fantastic voice and you want to get videos like this or any of the other hundreds that I got on the channel. Share, because sharing is caring, and YouTube's definitely not going to do it. Also, ring the bell, get the notification bell. I do a video every couple of hours between other things that I'm doing, so try to get information out and talk about things I find funny or interesting. And, you know, so that's a good thing. And speak. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you scared of some kind of war taking place? Do you believe that this is anything other than posturing? Because that's really where I come down with it. Because honestly, everybody's getting to the money. This is about the money at the end of the day. It always will be. So let me know what you think in the comments. And until the next one.